In this video, we buy a new boat, stuff doesn't exactly go to plan, and then I have some outright bad luck.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Bit of a different one today. We are going to pick up a new boat because me and Phil have decided to go halfers on a rib. So we are the proud owners of a new boat in a few hours. However, we need to drive down the Fife. Unfortunately, we're going down by the A9, so it's going to be a long, boring afternoon because that road is, can't waffle on about how much I hate the A9. Nobody wants to hear that.
So this is the boat. It's a 4.8 meter tornado rib with a 30 horse Yamaha 4-stroke on the back. Perfect for the kind of stuff we do. A lot more space, a lot more comfortable, yet at the same time still a fairly economical engine which shouldn't burn too much fuel.
You happy?
I'm happy.
It's just a beaut, mate.
We're going to get some adventures in this. Some adventures.
This poor boat is going to get used so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's just so clean. Right, so we are halfway through our journey home. Thought we'd go a quick stop off just to show you the boat and have a wee break ourselves because A9 nearly put us both to sleep. Yeah, so it's looking really tidy, really neat. It's obviously it's quite an old boat, but it looks to be really well looked after and pretty chuffed with it. We can get rid of this and hopefully put our nice own Skye Spearfishing logo or something, and we'll come up with our name between the two of us. So why a rib is such a good boat for diving from is it's nice and low to the water. You can simply roll off these tubes into the water so you haven't got far to go, and then you've got this black rope that runs along it. It's just a matter of simply pulling yourself back on. It's so much easier and they're so stable for getting in and out of the boats. Some of these, like the likes of like an Orkney boat or something, you can rock them quite considerably if you're trying to get in and out of them, or even like a plastic Pioneer. They're just so much easier to get in and out and so much more comfortable. Okay, after a very traumatic launching of the boat, which involved, should have been filmed to be honest, got the boat into the water. They pushed me away and then we realised that we didn't put the keys in the engine, so we had to do a very brave throw at the keys, which was caught thankfully as we were floating them. John ended up nearly breaking his phone, and Will managed to save the day and swam out whilst I was starting the engine, but it's all good now and we are ready to make away. Okay. Ready for an adventure?
Let's roll.
Will's been patiently sitting for the last 10 minutes whilst we get our shit together.
Despite the horrific weather, torrential rain and a fairly steady wind, we are absolutely buzzing to get out to the wreck and get in the water. This boat cruises nicely at about 17 knots with 4 Spearos and gear on, so I'm pretty chuffed with that. We put the boat to anchor, turned off the engine and quickly entered the water. To warm up, I had a few dives in the centre of the wreck, just showing Phil around this wreck. Every time I come here, the tide seems to be at a different height, and it seems like a very different place with each different stage of the tide.
It's 150 metres long. Yeah. But enjoy, get stuck in.
I was far too excited to start with and I missed a few easy shots. On one occasion I actually started to rig up my gun and then forgot to pull the bands back to load it. Unfortunately I was at 17 metres and had been there for well over a minute, and when I went to pull the trigger, nothing happened. Eventually, after having a word with myself, I finally managed to get back in the zone and start to hunt properly. The whole wreck was teeming with sand eels, and the pollock were absolutely gorging themselves on them. With a few nice fish having been speared, I decided it was time to get back in the boat and look for a different location. So I got in the boat, started to dekit and get ready to go to the next location, went to fire up the engine and nothing happened. The outboard would not start. This whole saga that happened next I could have easily edited out as if it never took place. However, it wouldn't be honest and it wouldn't be true. This is what happened. I'm not proud of it. It was less than ideal, but we had to fire up the auxiliary motor and get that going. Will and John dived on the anchor to get the anchor up. We had the auxiliary motor going and it seemed to be doing alright. It was pushing us into a fairly steady wind. At this point we're 3/4 of a mile away from Kyleakin. We were going on the auxiliary motor for about 5 minutes and then the auxiliary motor failed. With both engines having failed and a strong wind in our beam pushing us in the opposite direction to the slipway, I picked up the handheld VHF to radio for assistance for a tow. However, at this point the handheld VHF died and would not transmit anything. We were left with no option but to call for the RNLI, so we called 999. Shortly after making the phone call, a fish farm boat was passing. I waved at them, they came along and gave us a tow. I informed the RNLI that we were no longer requiring assistance. However, they said it was protocol to come out, so they came out to make sure that we got back to harbour safe. The fish farm boat and the RNLI ensured that we got safely into Kyleakin harbour. All in all, it was far from ideal, the whole circumstances of what went wrong. If it could have went wrong that day, it did go wrong. However, the takeaways from this are that we're going to take apart both the engines and get them fully serviced and ensure that they are in good working order, so hopefully this won't repeat itself. I want to say a massive thank you to the boys at the fish farm and the RNLI that came to assist us.
Just one of them days. One of them days, boys. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm naked from the waist below. It's cold, it's wet, it's miserable. Some CUNT has smashed my car and driven off. As if it didn't need to get bad enough having to get rescued. I'll look back and laugh at this in years, but at the moment I'm far from laughing.
You'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But at least
You got some fish?
At least you got some fish.
Is this your weight, bro?
Yeah, that's mine.
Look at that. I can't believe it about your car, man.
It's one of those rental camper vans. It's reversed into it. Nobody could drive into the front of that because it's not. They haven't tapped it. There's not like a slight scratch.
Yeah, that's like
absolute cloud into
That's a big it's a big scratch that.
a bit of tea cut and a little bit of polish. That's us dropped the boat off for the evening. It's going to live in Edinburgh for a wee while. We're going to pop back tomorrow and start on the wee teething issues. We've got quite a few wee bits to work away on and hopefully we'll work out what went wrong so it won't go in the future. Okay, so after everything that went wrong the other day, we are starting to kind of repair everything. Right, okay, so
In the first 5 minutes.
what we've worked out now is that the starter motor was engaged when we took it off, and that's probably stayed engaged and potentially burnt out because it hasn't dropped down. So we managed to get it started manually, wrapping a cord around the top, so we know that the engine's running and it basically diagnosed it's a starter motor. Tinny's been an absolute hero and diagnosed the issue.
The new pull cord.
The new pull cord. Bolt. I'm not an engineer, but I can't imagine that's good. We've also fitted the new starter motor, which Tinny's got us, which I'm very happy with. So that's all working. Engine seems to be starting a treat now, so happy with that. Hopefully that'll be the thing that let us down last time sorted, so it should run nicely. So we're just kind of getting all the way niggly bits done at the moment. So you can see this hose here, just where the fuel connects, it's starting to perish. So where it's starting to perish, I'm just going to cut just below it. So we've got like a fresh section of hose. Thankfully we've got enough hose inside there that we can spare a few inches, and I will cut that and redo that. I'm just doing some restoration at the same time. So we've taken all the stickers off, and I've shined this. So I've used oxidation remover, then I've used polish, then I've used wax. So it's came up quite nicely. Can't quite get it back to that where the stickers were on, but it's looking pretty decent if you compare it to those bits there, which are all kind of faded. It came up pretty nicely. So got to do a couple more panels of this and then we'll be good and sorted. We are going to then fit a Perspex windscreen on here. But for now, the next bit is to get onto this and buff all this up. So I'll show you the kind of process that we're going with this. We're being a bit lazy and we're using a handheld drill, so it gets a better result quicker. This is what we're using for removing the oxidation. Maguire's oxidation remover, and it seems to be working a treat. I'm pretty happy with how it's doing so far. So after we've done the oxidation, we're just going to put on this polish. Exactly the same process as last time. And then the last coat that we put on is wax. Obviously making sure that each time I use a different pad, because there's no point using the polish pad for the wax. And then it's simply a matter of just buffing the wax off and it leaves a pretty decent finish. We've fitted my Garmin Striker 5 from my other boat onto the centre console here at this angle, so it best gets the protection from the shield. Running the cabling through the console. So we've drilled through the base here, both of the cables are going through there. We're going to fix a wee bit of silicone just there to keep that all kind of more watertight. And the cables run through. I've got the battery out at the moment, I've just rewired it, I put a new inline fuse in. We're going to run this off a separate battery, so this is a 7 amp battery. This is just so that we don't have to worry about burning out the main battery that starts the engine. Then the transducer cable is running alongside this main cable. It was looking very difficult to try and fit the main cable, the transducer cable, inside here. So we just got a bit of bilge pipe. We've run that through and cable tied that along to the back of the transom. From here I've just done a wee bit of kind of cable management. Cable comes round to there, down, and then the transducer is just sitting on the back of the boat like that, so it should pick up everything nicely. I've cleaned up the transom in exactly the same way that I cleared up the center console. It's so shiny, you can actually, there we go, you can see me in it. That's a pretty good result, I'm very happy with that. So this handle was previously fitted to the center console just there. However, it doesn't really make sense for where people sit, because most people would sit on the sides of the tube next to the driver. So what we're going to opt to do after we've got the screen fitted is we're going to fit it on top, which means that people that are sitting there have got a handheld on it, and it's a nice easy place to reach as opposed to having to reach around, which would be a bit awkward. We've got the sheet of clear Perspex, which we're going to try and fashion some kind of windshield from to give the fish finder a wee bit of protection and any electronics. So hopefully we won't mess it up too badly. So we just measured these bits out here. These are going to be the angles where we're going to fold it down. It won't make any sense to you looking at this now, but it will soon, hopefully. It's welded itself there. That's glued back together with the heat. Wow. So this is where we're at now. We've got our 2 cuts, and this is going to get wrapped around and meet up. Obviously quite hard to see it through the Perspex. Fortunately we've got a few minor cracks in it. We've had to put down the shutter on the barn because this stuff is so temper sensitive that it's we're cutting the blades, and then it's as we cut it, it's actually re-welding behind the cut. So difficult stuff to work with. So the temperature outside is too cool, so we've shut the hatch to make the difference, and now we're going to try and melt it round. So this is what we're going to wrap round. So we've got the heat gun on at the moment, and we're going to wrap it around this bit of scaffold pole. But the pole itself is so cold that I don't think it will work until we've got it to a suitable temperature. So we're heating up the pole before we wrap it around there to get the corners. Found out this is the best way to heat up the pole. Get the temperature from the inside out as opposed to the outside.
that going at all.
Yeah, it will do once I get the pressure on it. Let's go around. So that is the first curve that we've got. It's not a disaster. Seems to fit alright, so aye. Alright, let's go on the second one and hope we do as well. So this material is it's a bit weird. It's like nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden it'll just start to droop. And as soon as it starts to droop, start to get some pressure on and start to work it around.
Definitely a two-person job, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So this is where we're at now. We've got our two bends and we're just going to put our last bend across this bit. This is going to be the most awkward. We've got to do it kind of freehand, and then hopefully we'll get these to marry up. It's a wee bit rough, we chipped it slightly, and that will hopefully weld in with that. Okay, so this is where we're at. We've not done a half bad job, I don't think, all things considering. It's pretty nasty stuff to work with, but pretty happy. So we're going to let this cool a wee bit, drill a few holes. We're going to drill the pilot holes there and then get that fitted up.
That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. The circumstances surrounding the video were far from ideal. However, it's important that I post this video, as not every time you go out in the water stuff goes to plan. Sometimes stuff goes wrong, and when it does go wrong, it's important that you react, and more importantly that you learn from your mistakes. So hopefully we've managed to iron out everything that's wrong with the boat, and it should be good from now on. I want to say a big thank you to the RNLI and the boys at the fish farm that gave us the tow back into harbour.